Hey everyone, this is Rich, the Chief Analyst here at the Cloud Security Alliance, and I would like to welcome you to day one of the AI and Cloud Threats and Vulnerabilities Summit. It's hard to express how much this has changed over the last weeks or months. There is news coming out on a daily basis, and I'm only recording this like a few days before we go live, and for all I know, it's going to be out of date by the time by the time this gets presented. So with that, I'm going to jump in. And I want to spend 15 minutes just kind of laying the stage about what's going on and get you thinking about what you can expect through the summit. Now, back in February, I wrote a blog post here at the CSA called Core Collapse. And the concept of core collapse, it was related to AI and threats and vulnerabilities, which is why I'm talking about it today. But the concept of core collapse is I was really kind of digging in, and this is pre-Mythos. This is back in February. I was really digging into what is different about AI in terms of how it enables attackers and defenders. And I was doing this to try and predict where we were headed, what could possibly our futures could look like. And in that paper, I said, I don't have all the exact answers, but I feel like we can see the shape of things. And here's why. If we think about how AI can empower both offense and defense, on the offensive side, AI is a bounded search problem. What do I mean by that? Well, as you can see on the slide here, it means that if I'm in the offensive security seat, if I'm the attacker, I can take one AI or I can take a swarm of agents and I can give it a task. Find a vulnerability in this code. Take this new patch release and figure out what the vulnerability is and create an exploit based on that CVE. Attack one target with a swarm of agents, all using advanced chain techniques, or attack every target out there on the internet with this one exploit, but now doing it automated at a wide scale. Every one of those has these built-in constraints. And in a way that really empowers the AI, it really allows that AI tool the capability to focus its efforts to explore the graph and do what it does best. But the problem is for those of us on the defensive side, because as defenders, we do get a lot of advantages for using AI. Over the next couple of days, you're going to see a lot of examples how to use AI to help improve your posture in terms of threat and vulnerabilities. But it's a different problem for us because as the defender, we face a combinatorial complexity problem. What does that mean? We have to defend all resources from all potential vulnerabilities, from all potential attackers for all time. We don't really get to control it. We have all of our resources. All of them have potential vulnerabilities or known vulnerabilities. We don't know who all of the potential adversaries and attackers are out there, and we don't get to constrain our time. If an attacker's AI gets bored going after a target, they can just move and focus on someone else. But we always have to have that prepared level. And so it's combinatorial complexity versus bounded search. What does this mean? The problem space that we are dealing with is larger. It's much wider than the problem space the attackers are dealing with. And the math gives them a structural advantage, leading them to success. We carry the entire problem. They just get to pick a slice and grind it out with their tooling. That doesn't mean everything is hopeless, because as you're going to see as we go through a lot of the content in the various presentations over the next couple of days, a lot of what we can do is to take the tooling and change the math. We can add more security boundaries to increase the combinatorial complexity of the attackers. We can change and speed up our cycles internally. We can constrain. There's all sorts of things that we can do to gain these advantages. And over time, we get the advantage as we've been able to reduce the number of vulnerabilities in code, reducing the attack surface, increasing the complexity, increasing the effort of work that it takes the attackers. So even though they may have a structural advantage for now, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to last. Now, of course, I made those predictions back in February, and then Mythos hit. And that's really changed a lot of the world's thinking about the role of AI in security in across large areas of society. And so what's the thing about Mythos that matters? Well, Mythos, it's not magic, it's a key indicator. What Mythos did is that Mythos demonstrated, per the information released by Anthropic, that you could take an AI model and it was able to basically autonomously discover vulnerabilities, create exploits, and execute advanced attack chains. And this could reduce the time of exploit from days or weeks to hours. We've actually already seen that happening. It reduces the level of skill required to use AI to assist you in offensive capabilities and potentially increases the volume. I'll get to that one in a moment. It's not that Mythos does anything you can't do today with existing tools and technologies, as I'm going to show you. It's that it reduces the level of expertise and the level of effort that it takes an individual to do this. And we call Mythos a key indicator because Mythos is under control. Anthropic has it. It's not out there for everybody to use. But we do know, again, key indicator, what Mythos can do today, we can expect to see in other models very quickly, and eventually in open weight models that anybody can run, and never mind adversaries, particularly those nation states. Now, because of this, Mythos also has shown that it's very good at discovering vulnerabilities. Anthropic created the Glasswing program. And within Glasswing, those software and hardware vendors, mostly software in Glasswing, they get early access to the model to discover vulnerabilities and try and patch things. And this is including a lot of open source. And so we are preparing for just a flood of vulnerabilities. And the reality is we've seen a lot of evidence that in just the weeks since we released the Mythos paper, about a month, I think, that everything that we predicted is already occurring. We're already seeing the Mythos-like capabilities spreading. Now, you might need scaffolding. You might need tooling. You might need an expert driving the system in order to get those same results, but you can get those same results. For example, Microsoft, their AI tool and harness for using multiple AI models to discover vulnerabilities. And using that M-Dash over at Microsoft for Patch Tuesday this month in the month of May, they found 16 kernel CVEs in a variety of Microsoft software. And using this multi-model agentic scanning harness, they have operationalized this into different pipelines, and they're already seeing valuable results in discovering very serious vulnerabilities that then get released. So that ties in with, similar to Glasswing, how we can be expected to have to patch a lot more as these tools expand and are used more widely. We saw Mozilla. So in Firefox, they discovered version 150 of Firefox, 271 vulnerabilities in one Mythos pass. Now, those weren't all meaningful. There were only about 3 of those that became CVEs that rose to the threshold for the update. But still, that's hardened software that's been undergone large numbers of security assessments over time, and Mythos is still finding vulnerabilities in those and doing so pretty quickly, fairly easily. Then we have more open tooling, so like Iron Curtain, and you're going to get to see that this week. Nils Provost is one of our presenters later on in the summit. Using his tool, Iron Curtain, basically $30 a scan, open weight models, using a bunch of those models per code base, is able to discover vulnerabilities similar to what Mythos is apparently capable of discovering. And then OpenAI has released their response, their tooling. So Daybreak and ChatGPT 5. Now that's yesterday as of this recording. That's just how quickly all of this is moving. But OpenAI, that's their autonomous security platform that they've launched to help automate. And Anthropic has released more. So this is like, these updates are coming out on almost a daily basis. My entire job is research and analysis to provide guidance to CSA members. And I have a whole platform that I built to capture all this info, and I can barely keep up with all the news. That's how quickly it's moving. But the things that we predicted in the Mythos paper when they released that these capabilities would be more widespread. And right now, you still generally need some tooling, some harnessing, but that threshold is dropping over time. And that's one of the key capabilities that Mythos potentially demonstrated is one shot, not having to have that skill level. So we know this is going to happen. And we know that there's nothing that's going to block increased number of vulnerabilities and exploits being discovered and used in automated complex attacks. So we're seeing some evidence of this in two different areas, which I found personally very interesting. One is over on the supply chain side in AI-driven offense. We're dealing with this kind of flood. It started with Shai Hulud attacks, or I mean, before that, but the big ones that we've seen out there. And we've seen compromises within the supply chain, within particularly the open source, but also kind of some of the open source stuff from commercial vendors like LightLLM, Trivy, Checkmarks. They've all been kind of hit in different ways to this, where the attackers are now going after supply chain, going after big code bases, which is exactly the kind of thing that the offensive AI tools are good at discovering vulnerabilities in, and using that to gain access to our organizations. We don't really know the full outcomes of that. There's some info stealer malware in there. We haven't seen like a ton of the direct compromises, but we do see a lot of related aspects. Now, here's the thing. Not all of those were AI driven. We don't know exactly where the attackers used the AI tools and didn't. They're certainly not using Mythos level tools. It doesn't matter. What we do see is the shape of those attacks has changed and going after the code bases and those supply chains. And we do know that the AI tools are particularly good at discovering those vulnerabilities and creating those exploits. So that's a convergence that absolutely is affecting us on the threat and vulnerability side. And if you're not looking at your CI/CD pipelines and doing version pinning and those kinds of things, it's something you really need to strongly take a look at right now. The other is we are adding attack surfaces. We adopt these AI tools. And it's a non-deterministic attack surface. So now discovering vulnerabilities might just mean crafting the right sentence as opposed to hitting a port and a protocol with a particular chunk of code. And it's not something that all of our existing security tools are going to be seeing. And again, I think this is all manageable. There's some great tools that are out there. We've got like OpenShell, which is constrained environments. The stuff Niels has done with Iron Curtain that also actually has constraint sandbox area where for running your agents. But as we increase our use of agents, we do need to keep an eye on the security of those. We've actually done some interesting stuff here at CSA around that as well. So the nature of the attack surfaces is changing, and we've got a bunch of presentations covering a lot of that. Now, the community is already responding to this, and they're doing a great job. It's like, look, I only joined Cloud Security Alliance in October. I can't imagine a more exciting time to take this role because there's so much happening right now. One is coming directly out of the work that we did in the Mythos paper. The whole concept of VulnOps is coming out, redoing our vulnerability discovery and management programs. And that's an area where we're engaging a lot with the community to try and kind of enumerate what VulnOps is looking like and being able to make that accessible to different kinds of organizations to implement in different ways. We are releasing at the CSA, or we just released the AI security maturity model. This is giving us a maturity model that you can use to evaluate your security program for your use of AI. So it ties into some of those agent pieces and ties into building AI into your applications and adopting AI in your own organization so that that doesn't become an increased attack surface for you. We see a lot of defender momentum around AI, new tools. So Google is investing in open source security scanning. OpenAI is investing in that with their open source, Anthropic with their open source programs, all also offering these within their commercial offerings as well. So we're getting increased capabilities to use the AI tools ourselves to reduce vulnerabilities. We also know that a whole range of vendors are integrating AI into their incident response process. And we as defenders are learning the different places where AI can actually be more valuable and powerful for us on the defensive side. And I think we're going to see material improvements in the quality of our software, the security of our software, and our security operations because of this. And then, and a little bit tied in with the VulnOps piece is we're working on further coordination to define Mythos Ready security program is what we defined it in the paper. Obviously, Mythos isn't necessarily going to be the name that sticks for what this is, but an AI ready security program might be another way of wording it. And we're working on additional coordinated responses. So we have the paper that's been released. We have more papers and more research coming out. We're pulling some teams together to work on that. We have some working sessions if you are a CISO on those dates, and we're releasing more invitations and information on that. Just, those are working sessions are definitely specifically for that CISO audience, but we are working on expanded opportunities to engage in producing not just the research, but lessons learned, what's working, and coordinate our responses. So there's three asks to take away as you attend the summit over the next 2 days. The first one is we have a window of opportunity right now. Mythos is a great wake-up call. Those capabilities aren't widespread, even though it's expanding, but we have the time to go ahead and start, if we start now, to harden our environments so that we're going to be much more prepared and maintain our existing security equilibrium and not give the attackers that structural advantage. If you are on the executive team, we invite you to join us at those working group sessions, and you might have already received an invitation to those. And that's a great opportunity to engage with peers, but understand that we are going to have, those are space limited and everything else. We're going to have more events and more opportunities to engage. So keep in touch with us, keep watching what we're doing here at CSA, because again, we just see a huge opportunity for all of us to work together collectively around this. And then start integrating AI into your own processes. You can start today by using the existing tooling and integrate AI into your code scanning, perform your own assessments. There's open source scaffolding, some of the things that are going to be talked about at the summit here that can actually help you get there. There's also the commercial offerings that are there, and getting your teams trained up on using AI, because they're really, I hate to overhype it. Like as somebody who's been an analyst for 25 years in different ways, shapes, and forms, I always hate to tell people to spend more money or to kind of change what they're doing, but I think you have to. This is the future from a technology perspective in terms of a lot of what we're doing. I don't think AI is going to be replacing actors and actresses anytime soon, but I do think that for us in security, it's going to impact what we do, and we need to get on top of this technology. And I think the sooner we adopt this, and eventually we are going to have the structural advantage. We're going to reduce the number of vulnerabilities that are potentially exploitable out there. Our environments are going to be hardened, and we're going to have advantages over the attackers, raising the skill level that they need to break into our organizations. We're also doing things here at the CSA to support this. Now, we've got a lot of things going on. I just picked 3 for today, and you're going to hear more about these. One is the CSAI Foundation. This is really the home for our AI research. No, CSAI is not an acronym. We're just calling it CSAI. But it's an independent 501c3 for our AI security, 6 strategic programs, and you're going to be hearing more about that if you haven't already. We are also expanding our ability to support the vulnerability management community. We are a CVE, a CNA numbering authority, and we're scoping around those AI aspects to help see what we can do as CSA to help get those vulnerabilities out there, get those patches out there so that organizations can defend themselves. And some of you probably already heard, we have expanded membership offerings as well for those of you that want more direct guidance and taking CSA research and using that to improve your security outcomes. We now have an ability to support you through that journey as opposed to just releasing the research for you to go ahead and read. And that's it for my content. It's time to hand you over to the rest of the agenda. Now, some of this can shift around sometimes, but you're going to be hearing from Gadi Everon on the AI vulnerability storm. We've got some featured keynotes presenting the industry view there. Zenity, Rapid7, Security Superintelligence Labs. Anton Shubikin, a longtime friend of mine. I think I've known Anton for about 20 years. He's from Google Cloud. He's going to be talking about vulnerabilities in production. That's really exciting. We've got to talk around operational technologies. We've got presentation by Niels. I already talked about what he's done with Iron Curtain, and his content is amazing. Please go watch that one. And we've got additional content also coming on day 2. With all that, thanks for listening to me babble away for about 20 minutes. We hope you enjoy the summit, and let us know if there's other ways that we can help and if there's any more research information you want us to be producing.